For a brand that defined the American dream for generations, the greatest challenge today might not be technological lag, but the very DNA encoded during its most successful era. This is The Critique. We deliver topic-driven entertainment, strictly based on elite research and facts, using AI only as a creative partner to analyze complex systems. This particular critique is a neutral examination of where the Chevrolet structure strains or misaligns under modern conditions. We look strictly at systems, incentives, and structural limits, avoiding competitor hype or fan arguments, while acknowledging past success before questioning future viability. So let's get right into the foundational analysis. What's the highest level tension the submitted material needs to capture immediately?
The analysis is robust, but the central conflict, it needs to be the immediate centerpiece.
Okay.
The introductory section, it needs to more explicitly frame an analysis around the tension between Chevrolet's historical identity as the volume leader and its dependence on these high-margin specialized loyalty segments today.
Okay, so the core tension is the ghost of Alfred Sloan, the volume mandate, a car for every person purpose that defined their success for, 80 years?
It made them the largest selling car brand in the U.S. by 1929.
Right. But why does pursuing that same volume strategy today suddenly become a real handicap?
It creates this enormous self-sustaining gravity. The weakness is that the current material, it acknowledges Chevy's overall success, but it kind of simplifies how fundamentally that historical promise fights against modern demands.
I see.
Sloan's volume legacy dictates a broad, affordable approach. The widest possible portfolio. Engineering precision and the narrow focus you need for modern, high-tech, software-defined products. Think EVs, premium trucks.
It sounds like the volume mandate prevents the necessary specialization and capital concentration that the future demands.
That's it.
I mean, if you're mandated to serve every possible demographic, you inherently spread your engineering talent and investment dollars thin.
Precisely. You can't put all your smartest people in one disruptive platform if you still have to field 15 different gasoline models globally and manage all of the logistics that go with it.
You're forced to compromise.
At a foundational level, yes. And the real irony here is that the volume segments themselves, they aren't the brand's actual financial anchor anymore. The core business has shifted.
That's a critical point. So the suggestion is to strengthen the opening by directly contrasting that volume history with the structural importance of these two specific, high-loyalty, non-volume products that actually sustain the brand's financial health today.
Yes. We need to pull back the curtain on the actual profit engines. The volume is the historical narrative, but the Silverado pickup and the Corvette, that's the financial reality.
So they're the pillars.
They are the high-margin, high-loyalty pillars that counterbalance the necessary losses or, the minimal returns from the broader volume segments.
That's a powerful duality to lead with. How should the writer illustrate this specialized financial dependence and concentration of customer loyalty?
We need concrete evidence of where that loyalty really lives. You need to cite data showing that brand loyalty for Chevrolet just drops sharply when the high-selling Silverado pickup is removed from the equation.
Interesting.
The Silverado, the truck division that uses the Like a Rock tagline, that is a fortress of repeat customers. It provides immense stability and market power that lets them be flexible elsewhere.
And the other side of that coin is the Corvette. It's pure emotion.
Exactly. Contrast the Silverado's workhorse stability with the emotional, legendary brand status of the Corvette. I mean, it's been worshipped since 1953, known as the American sports car.
Right.
It fosters massive enthusiasm and deep fan community engagement. It's the ultimate halo. It generates prestige and justifies the brand's existence at the luxury and performance end.
So these two segments are not just successful models. They are critical, high-margin counterweights that allow the rest of the volume lineup to even exist.
Yes.
The writer needs to foreground that this specialized success is fundamentally at odds with the brand's broad historical mission, creating a core conflict that shapes every decision the company makes.
That is the idea. Focus the initial analysis on this central conflict, the volume promise versus the specialized, high-margin halo reality.
That pressure from the specialized models must create absolute chaos for their central R&D budgets.
Does that financial collision spill over directly into their other major challenge, the urgency of the software-defined vehicle transition?
It absolutely does. We need to look at the point where these two problems fuse.
Okay.
To really maximize the impact of themes like bureaucracy versus speed and work-first DNA versus software-defined futures, the critique has to explicitly connect GM's legacy industrial cost structures with the cultural and financial complexity of transitioning to SDVs.
The problem seems clear. Industrial-era structures are rigid, bound by high fixed costs, limited flexibility, but the digital age requires fluidity and speed.
Right.
But wait, isn't being a massive volume brand supposed to be an advantage when you're scaling new tech like the Ultium battery platform? Why isn't that immense scale working to their benefit here?
And that is the core vulnerability. The current material, it sort of risks treating the cost structure and the SDV transition as two separate issues.
When they're really one and the same.
They are intrinsically linked because that massive scale forces technical and financial compromises that cost time and money. Legacy organizations face severe disadvantages because their inherited culture and processes are fundamentally anti-SDV by design.
You're retrofitting a digital mindset onto a 100-year-old assembly line DNA.
Exactly. So the sheer size of the operation, it becomes a compounding tax on innovation. It's the cost of legacy applied to the complexity of the future.
That's it.
And the suggestion is to use financial and technical details to demonstrate exactly how the necessity of serving this vast, complex product line, from subcompacts to commercial trucks, via a massive parent company like GM, forces these incredibly expensive, complex technical solutions that dramatically slow down deployment.
So scale creates complexity, and complexity kills speed.
That's it in a nutshell.
That's fascinating. So the scale is actually an anchor, not a booster, for the SDV move. What are the most compelling concrete examples of this cost-complexity trade-off that the writer should include?
We have to focus on where they bleed cash and time fighting this battle. First, the talent war.
Right.
GM's massive shift to SDVs requires them to compete for world-class talent against dedicated tech companies, not just other automakers.
So they're fighting on two fronts.
Two expensive fronts, yes. They have to invest heavily in internal upskilling programs like the GM Technical Learning University just to retrofit the required internal software capacity.
They're paying a premium just to catch up to the baseline expectations of a software company. And the second area,
the engineering compromise built right into the product. Look at the modular Ultium battery platform. Ultium has to be modular and flexible because it must serve GM's 30-plus global models with diverse power and form factor requirements.
Sure, that makes sense on the surface.
But this necessary modularity may miss the significant cost advantages of simpler structures, like the cell-to-pack design, which are viable for specialized competitors producing fewer models in extremely high volume.
So that modularity is a massive self-imposed cost born directly out of the legacy product mandate.
It is. And we can't overlook the execution risk. The massive $2.6 billion Chevrolet Bolt EV battery recall, regardless of who ultimately paid, illustrates the staggering financial and reputational risk of executing new technology within this complex, high-volume industrial system.
That wasn't just a component failure. It was a failure to manage complexity at volume within a bureaucracy that couldn't react fast enough.
Exactly. So strengthen the structure by showing that the cost of complexity actively inhibits the speed of the future. This collision point between industrial constraint and digital requirement is the real story here.
That integrated view of cost and speed is incredibly powerful. Let's move to the third major strain on the system, the brand itself. The material discusses brand diffusion, which is accurate, but I feel like we need to sharpen the angle on why that diffusion is more than just a marketing issue. It feels like a fundamental vulnerability.
It is. It's a structural flaw that leads to a pervasive credibility problem. The critique should offer a more specific analysis of how Chevrolet's decades-long reliance on managing vastly diffused global product identities strains the credibility of its new unified messaging.
That's a powerful way to frame it. The weakness is that the material doesn't fully capture the structural incoherence created by reliance on global badge engineering.
Right.
Using rebadged products across many markets, like rebadged Daewoo cars in Europe, purely to hit scale and fill out portfolios. This historical method fundamentally undercuts the identity promoted domestically.
Absolutely.
When you proclaim an American revolution, as they did domestically, but your global presence is built on a patchwork of regionally sourced vehicles, that disconnect just erodes the foundation of your narrative.
The market doesn't believe your core claims because your operational reality is too fragmented.
So the suggestion is to focus the analysis on how this operational incoherence creates specific, measurable fragility and vulnerability to public challenge, particularly around core claims like quality and reliability.
Yes.
This moves the discussion from a theoretical marketing failure to an observable, financial, and reputational risk.
Precisely. We need concrete proof that this brand strategy fails in the court of public opinion.
And we have a perfect, high-profile example for that. The writer should reference the controversy where Chevrolet was forced to pull advertising that claimed superior reliability compared to Toyota, Honda, and Ford.
That ad, yes.
The ad was quickly dismantled by independent studies because they relied on extremely selective data, specifically only 2015 model year vehicles, and failed to account for the full globally diffused lineup.
That situation is the direct consequence of operating with an incoherent product line. They attempt to claim superiority, but the lack of unified engineering and quality control across their globally diffused products makes the claim easy to dismantle when critics look at the whole picture. It's an easy target.
And we can further support this by using the context of global operations. Things like GM Korea designing and manufacturing many global market Chevrolet vehicles, like the Spark and Malibu,
And the withdrawals.
and the high-profile withdrawal from the brand from key markets like South Africa. This shows the real scope of managing radically different product identities under one Chevy umbrella. That level of operational incoherence is a systemic strain that inhibits any attempt at a unified, high-quality global brand message.
The focus must shift from simply having too many segments to how the method of serving those segments, through badge engineering and outsourced design, creates a credibility gap the brand can no longer afford in a digitally transparent age.
This has been a deeply insightful and actionable breakdown. We've pinpointed 3 major opportunities for the writer to significantly elevate this critique. First, defining the core conflict by explicitly linking the historical volume identity to the 2 modern financial anchors, the Silverado and Corvette.
Second, integrating the industrial cost structure, that massive anchor of complexity, with the urgent necessity of speed in the software-defined future, illustrating how scale has become a costly handicap.
And third, sharpening the narrative on brand fragility by demonstrating how decades of global operational incoherence leads to specific, measurable credibility failures and public vulnerability.
We are confident these revisions will make the piece significantly more robust and insightful. Remember, this systems-level critique is only one lens through which to examine this complex topic. Our other assets, the explainer, the debate, the deep dive, and the infographic, will expand this analysis, emphasizing why this structural question is so urgent for the brand right now.
Strengths that shape the world.